And start. It is 6:01 on April 22nd, and we will bring this meeting to order. We will first begin with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Allen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll now have our roll call, also beginning with Commissioner Allen.
No conflicts. Ann Allen, no conflicts.
Joel Temple, no conflicts.
Matt Wheelwright, no conflicts.
Melissa Kendall, no conflicts.
John Lyons, no conflicts.
And Jonathan Hill, no conflicts. I guess as a formality, I will read the statement on decorum. Although this is a public hearing, only the presenters and those invited by the commission may speak or ask questions, unless otherwise invited by the chair. Please wait to speak until called on. When speaking, be sure to speak into the microphone so the record is clear. Please state your name and city of residence for the record. Please limit side conversations as they interfere with the audio recording. If you need to have a side conversation, please step out of the chambers. Please do not attempt to interrupt or speak over others. Intimidating or threatening speech or behavior will not be tolerated at any time. Please refrain from clapping, cheering, booing, or being otherwise disruptive during the hearing. So with that, we'll begin with our first and only public hearing item tonight. Item 1, Natalie and Douglas Langford request an ordinance text amendment to Provo City Code 14.22.020 to add a caretaker dwelling as a permitted accessory use in the CG or general commercial zone. This is a citywide application, and Aaron Arbor will present for us.
Okay, thank you, Plan Commission. The slide here is the only one for this item. So the proposed language is on the left, simply adding caretaker dwelling subject to Provo City Code 1434-220 to the permitted accessory uses within the CG zone. You should note that in the staff report, I've noted there's 8 other zones with this same allowance for a caretaker dwelling as an accessory use, and all of those are regulated by that section on the right side of your screen. So it limits it to 1 per lot on the same property, occupied by 1 family, only 1 kitchen, and so forth. If this is approved, anything within the CG zone that requests a caretaker dwelling would go through a building permit application and would have to get a rental dwelling license and comply with those standards on the right side of your screen. The request itself, as you'll note in the staff report, staff have found that the responses to the criteria of amending city code have been found compliant with the general plan. And your options are to recommend approval, recommend denial, or to continue that item. That's all I have on this, unless you have any questions for me.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? Yeah, Matt?
So just to clarify, you said that there are 8 other zones
Yes.
that have what's in blue right here already attached, but not this one.
Correct.
Okay. Why? Any thoughts on why not this one in the past?
I think each of those have came about in the same manner. A number of those are more manufacturing and industrial zones, storage lots, things like that. U-Haul properties typically have a caretaker dwelling for security. I think the idea here is the same.
Any other questions, John? And then
Yeah,
Melissa?
so I do have some questions. It seems that for agriculture or manufacturing or others, I can see those are, I can understand why you need a caretaker there more than in a commercial zone. So curious about that. Is this a citywide application? Is this really a citywide need, or is it just, shouldn't this be a conditional use instead of a citywide change?
It is a citywide impact. So anybody, if this does move forward and get approved by the city council, anybody with property in the CG zone in a commercial business on the property could apply for this.
it feels like this is an opportunity for backdooring a housing solution for somebody, right? How would this be enforced? You talk a little bit about the enforcement of this?
Yeah, I think in the other 8 zones that this has been allowed in, we've seen a very, very low percentage of use. I think most commercial, industrial, agricultural lots haven't needed or wanted to do this or even could. It comes at an expense of land and financial costs, right? So connecting those utilities, providing parking, all of those different things that come with a caretaker dwelling have maybe been something that makes people shy away from it. But it's been very rarely used in those zones. We wouldn't anticipate a high use within the CG zone, but who knows?
Nevertheless, so enforcement,
Enforcement would go through, so they'd have to get a building permit for the change of use or for the addition, whichever the case may be. And then they'd have to get a rental license. So enforcement would be through making sure that rental license is kept up, inspected when necessary.
okay. There's any risk of misuse of this? Then that's my concern that if the facility is there, they don't put a rental license in, just kind of let somebody use it, or it comes into a low-cost housing unit for somebody.
Not any more than there would be today. I think people that are going to do that wouldn't wait until it's permitted use.
Because we talk about occupants got to be employee working greater than 50% of the time. Isn't that one of those?
Right.
The
Yeah.
bottom one.
Number 9.
No, and okay. Do you know how the current applicant plans on creating this accessory unit, this dwelling unit?
I don't, but if they're here, they may address that.
Okay. All right, and the reason again why you don't think it should be a conditional use instead of a permitted use?
Again, where the state and professional planning best practices have shied away from conditional uses. If there are conditions, we want to list those and make those very clear, which has been done in 1434-220. So with those standard conditions, we feel like this would work better as a permitted accessory use.
Okay.
This,
So this section, 14.34220, caretaker dwellings as an accessory use, is that applicable to only those 8 zones, or is it applicable to any?
Those are only 8 zones that currently permit it as an accessory use. So
So those are not features of other accessory dwellings.
correct.
Okay. And why is it limited to 1,200 square feet? And is that just on the main level, or would that be, is that the footprint size or?
It's floor area, so technically that could go through a 2-level if it's a 2-level building. It's rare that you have a 2-level building in a CG zone, but it wouldn't limit you from the reading of that. It wouldn't limit you to 1 story. It would just limit you to the 1,200 square feet, and I don't know where that number came from. This
But
code has existed for quite a
1,200
while.
square feet total.
Yeah.
So it's a very small place. Okay, and the last one was not a manufactured dwelling unit. So can't be a
Yeah, you can't just park a manufactured
home.
structure onto
Yeah.
a commercial lot.
Okay.
Joel?
Would it be possible to see the zoning map where this is applicable in those other zones where it's already allowed?
Can you pull up the zoning map? It's gonna be hard to see all of the on the.
But just to get kind of a
the
rough
city,
idea.
But yeah, we can pull
And-
that up.
Is this permitted downtown currently, or?
No.
Okay.
Though residential units by right are, so
Okay,
it's not really needed.
I see.
So we're looking for, the pick zone is primarily in the southeast and in East Bay. You could see that in the light pink. The A zone is all the green. Majority of that's on the west side. The M1, M2 are primarily along the freeway, the railroad tracks and State Street. PF zone, scattered. What are the other ones? CM, MP. Those are are small sections of our zoning map, but they are kind of adjacent to major corridors, arterials or collectors typically. And in the CG zone, where this is being proposed, is more scattered than any of those other ones. So it's kind of all over the map.
Is there any reason that this hasn't been applied to all commercial zones? Has it just been kind of as an applicant says?
I think
our
it
zone
just
could
came
use
in as requested.
Okay.
Building off of that, which kind of commercial oriented zones would still be excluded?
SC1, SC2, SC3, SSC. So I think that's it. The rest of our zones that allow commercial uses are more mixed use, so
Right,
they wouldn't
so
need the
they already do
caretaker
it.
dwelling.
And then my other questions were just on some of the language in this 14.34.220, which I know isn't really what we're talking about, but I was just curious about it. Says, let's see, are accessory in size to the main use. How is that defined? Like, that's not really a line. You know what I mean? Does that just create some wiggle room there? Does that mean less than 20%, less than 25%?
It's
Right, smaller than, less than
Yeah.
50%? I don't know.
Yeah, that is a kind of ambiguous term to use there. That might be revised in the Title 14 rewrite.
Yeah, there was another one that was kind of similar that way, where it was kind of like, oh, it is accessory to a functional principal use. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, just some ambiguities there that
Yeah.
could lead to abuse, which we've brought up. So,
I think the way the staff would interpret that is 51% of the building would still have to be the commercial use.
some legitimate commercial
Right.
use that they're employed doing, et cetera.
Yeah, notwithstanding the size limitations of the
Yeah,
the
that would be a
caretaker
small
dwelling.
building if it
Yeah.
really was half.
Yep.
So, okay, Joel?
Can I also ask, what happens if the business goes under? Is a family getting kicked out of their home now? Like, what does that look like?
Essentially, yeah.
So another question then, just thinking about this, if it's a small professional office, it's possible that the caretaker could be the owner, so the owner could live in the back of the building then, right? So
Yeah.
this would allow then an owner or a business owner to live in the same property as
Kind of a different way of a live work unit. Yeah.
a live work
Yeah.
unit.
Yeah,
in a
that's an
commercial
interesting
zone.
thought.
And then it's possible they could just convert a back office to a bedroom and then use the facility bathroom as their bathroom. Would that be permitted?
No, I think that would have to be kept separate through the building code. So these would come in through a building permit and the national building code would regulate that.
Would this require a kitchen unit?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Hey, any other questions? Yeah, Matt?
So it came up, the manufactured housing item, it's not here, so I can't read the exact language, but there it is, are not a manufactured dwelling unit. I think I know what you mean, but with the world changing and pre-manufacturing strategies changing dramatically in the industry, I just prompt you to pay attention to that, including in the new zone rewrite, because they're amazing new things that are better than the homes we live in, but are prefabricated somewhere else.
Mhm.
So calling it a manufactured dwelling unit will be problematic as the industry continues to evolve.
No, that's a good thought.
That's a great question. What is a manufactured dwelling unit then? So what, how
I
does
think more
that
of the idea
define?
is those temporary portable or
A mobile home,
type
a
things,
mobile
right?
home
So
or a
maybe
tiny
that could be
home.
clarified.
Yeah, that
Which
needs to be
buy on Amazon.
clarified. So that's a good question. We'll follow up with that. Not part of this decision, but still, it's something to look at.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, last call for questions. Okay, thank you, Aaron.
Thank you.
Is the applicant here this evening? Not seeing the applicant. Okay. So we'll go straight to the public hearing portion then. Each person may come up and make one comment. When your time is finished after 2 minutes, your microphone will be muted. Please begin by stating your name and city of residence. Also, this is a time for comments only. If you have questions, please talk to Aaron directly. So with that, we'll go ahead and open it up for public comment.
I'm Julie Rose. I live in Provo, and some of you may know that I post previews of your meetings on social media, and a couple of people made comments, asked questions that I thought might be of interest to you. So I thought I'd share those with you briefly. One person posted saying, "Sounds set up for abuse. If it has to be a family member or an employee living in the apartment, quote, you want to work at my business, you have to live in my hole of an apartment. Your family has outgrown the apartment. I'll have to let you go." That was one comment. Somebody else said, "Mr. Kruger's Christmas. I worked in commercial real estate for 40 years, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Chicago, New York, Atlanta, Seattle, Salt Lake City, Provo. This is a good idea." And then one person did ask about the square foot maximum. And he indicated that his family had a retail store in Fairview with a caretaker family upstairs. We didn't think twice about the size since it was just whatever the size of the upstairs was. Kids with responsible kids of their own make really good caretakers since there are more people to help out with the family business.
Thank you. Any other comments tonight? Okay, not seeing any, we'll go ahead and close public comment and bring it back to the commission for discussion. Where are we at on this issue? Yeah.
It's already in 8 zones. I think we ought to, hopefully in the Title 14 rewrite, it's going to show up in everywhere where it's logical. I think the abuse issues are reasonable and worthwhile to consider, but if they're happening now and getting abused now, this actually helps that because they'll be part of the code. Enforcement can happen more naturally. So I think this is pretty straightforward.
Aaron, as a follow-up, are we seeing abuse in the zones where this is? Is this an enforcement issue that the city?
It hasn't been like I noted in the staff report. It's a very small percentage, and we don't get much concern on these properties that have them.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
What other thoughts do we have?
I worry that it's too small. Like, I agree, you want somebody that could stay there, and as soon as you have a couple of kids, 1,200 square feet is awful small. So I don't know, as long as it's still accessory, why can't it be a little larger than that? But I do think this might be a really good idea because it may open the door for some people to inhabit structure to start a business, and maybe it will allow them to live there and afford it. And I think that's a great thing. There may be some buildings that are going unused because people can't afford to have the building and their own dwelling unit. But if you could have one that has a caretaker place in it, then you could maybe afford to do your business. Just a thought.
Joel?
Yeah, I feel like this kind of gets back to a more traditional like city form. Like I think of the reason I asked about downtown is that feels like a very intuitive, like you have your downstairs commercial and you live upstairs. I know there are a couple of properties on the market right now in Provo where I don't know that maybe they're just outside of the downtown zone, so that maybe wouldn't be allowed, but it seems like the floor space doesn't really make sense unless you can live in part of it. And yeah, it just seems like it promotes, I don't know, it promotes sort of the mixed use that we want to see. I don't really see it as something that's ripe for abuse. And if it is abuse, it's probably not because of the zoning code, it's probably because of an employer-employee relationship that might be outside of our jurisdiction. Yeah, I think this is actually a really cool idea. And I would like to see it, and I think in more commercial zones even.
Yeah, I also think it's very interesting. Like one of the thoughts I had as I was reading through this is the old school general store and the family lived upstairs, or a bakery and the baker lived upstairs. Like that used to be the normal way. And it really helped, I think, small businesses, right? And at the same time, I actually saw in the New York Times an article about, I think it was the New York Times, it was in New York City for sure, about a family that could not afford their apartment, and they had a gym, right, for people to use. And so they moved into the basement of the gym, which technically wasn't legal, but I don't know. It is a real concern, and it can really help people get their businesses off the ground. And so, I mean, as long as it really is separate, right? You talk about sharing the bathroom with the business or things like that. As long as those things are separated, it truly is a separate unit. I can't see how it would harm the livability of our city, really.
I'd love to see bigger businesses be able to have more than one family, that they're like manufacturing places can't afford to have workers pay them enough to live here, so that kind of inhibits manufacturing, which is problematic, I think, for our community. So it would be wonderful if we had, they have all of this square footage in manufacturing places and it sits dormant all night long. And so if some of their workers could live on site, that would be, I think, a boon for manufacturing.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, although that reminds me of the factory towns that we used to have, and those were abused, right?
But maybe
With some
that's,
of the concerns that were shared.
but
Yeah.
maybe some of the abuse is
already
a separate
permitted
issue,
currently.
you know?
So, yeah,
Sorry, it feels kind of echoey, so. Okay, are we ready for a motion?
Can we suggest that maybe they rethink the size? Does anybody else straw poll think that it should be bigger than 1,200?
Yeah, this is a
square
recommendation, so we can definitely recommend.
Well, except it's on the right side, which is an existing code.
Yep.
feet? Oh,
So we can recommend that to, like the comment on number 8,
Just
the
when the-
manufactured dwelling unit.
Great, good catch.
when the rewrite happens.
Yeah, but it's not part of this
Okay,
motion.
got it.
Yeah, I think right now 1,200's a 1-bedroom apartment, may be a pretty small 2. So something a little bigger might be nice there as a cap.
I don't even think my 1 bedroom is 1,200 square feet.
Yeah.
It's small.
Yeah, I'm just thinking my New York apartment, which was smaller, but
No.
okay.
Yeah, it feels like the accessory in size could capture that. And if we tighten up what that means, then yeah.
Yeah, although I
That's
don't know,
important.
part of me thinks just having the cap would kind of cover it. I don't know. And maybe at less than 50%, something that's more bright line
Mhm.
there. So,
something like that, yeah.
okay. Who would like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we recommend approval of. There we go. Thank you. We recommend approval of an ordinance text amendment to Provo City Code 14.22.020 to add a caretaker dwelling as a permitted accessory use in the general commercial zone.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, let's start voting.
Aye.
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 And I'll vote aye, and so item 1 passes unanimously. Okay, we'll go to item 2. And just for the public's information here, this is not a public hearing item. So we will not have an opportunity to participate at this time. There will be public hearing in the future on this item, but this is just an opportunity for staff to kind of preview some work that they've been doing and tell us about it and start some discussion.
We'll just quickly run through the slides again for the benefit of the public that came to see it. We covered pretty much all of it in study meeting. We went through it real quick, but I'll just run through those slides again, and then we can kind of open it up to discussion, questions, comments, next steps. Yeah, no problem. Say what? All right. So this is how we got here. Outdated code, redundant code, hard to understand and read for staff, for public, for developers. The council saw this the same way as planning staff has for years, and we introduced this to the city council, and they gave us the go ahead to rewrite the zoning code with some of these goals in mind. We teamed up with Somas, a consultant out of Salt Lake, who has helped us on some other things like the station area plan. Have a good breadth of knowledge of planning practices and zoning codes. And they helped us kind of with our baseline as we start to rewrite and consolidate and make consistent style through the entire zoning code. Here's where we've been and where we are now. So like I said, the council awarded us money from, I think it was from the COVID funds actually, to do this. And then we used that to hire Somas through RFP, a request for proposals. They won the bid. We did some kickoff meetings, had some introductory meetings with developers, plan commissioners, city councilors, different stakeholders. Try to get some thoughts and ideas of what they're looking for if we're going to rewrite the zoning code. And then we just started writing it, revising it, reorganizing it. And that's all been done now. And now it's going through legal review. So our city legal department has reviewed 45 of the 50 chapters that are proposed to be adopted by the city council. So we've got a few more left, and then we'll be moving forward, bringing it to you and the city council for study sessions and for adoption. A little bit of what that means is we've reduced the size of the zoning code. We've reduced the number of chapters. We've reduced the number of residential zones, industrial zones, and so forth. Kind of combining those that were redundant and cleaning up the style and making consistency through each chapter. I covered that. Currently the lot standards, lot sizes, setbacks, building heights, they're all within the individual zones. We're moving all of those to one table for ease of use, and we're doing the same thing to permitted uses. We've been using a very antiquated thing called the Standard Land Use Code. It's hundreds of pages of different uses that may or may not be used anymore, and doesn't include a lot of today's uses because it's from the 70s and didn't think of all the technology that'd be here in 2026. So we're moving away from that and going to more of a general heading for uses and putting those in a table organized by zone. We're replacing the area around the commuter station down on 600 South Freedom Boulevard. That whole area that's zoned ITOD right now will be replaced, or is proposed to be replaced by a true form-based transit-oriented development zone. For the public, form-based means that there's more care and thought given into what the area, the space, the buildings look like than it does with uses and things like that. So kind of creating a character there around the commuter station, more important than the uses that go in them. And through that transit-oriented development zone, there's going to be different cores. So there's going to be different sections that kind of filter down to the adjacent zones. There's residential zones around there. So there would be kind of a stepping up to the commuter station itself. So here we are, we're finishing up legal review. Soon we'll be bringing the chapters in front of Plan Commission City Council for study. And we hope to move through all that through late spring, early summer, so we can start getting decisions on this through late summer. And then do some public awareness campaigns and continue to kind of monitor how these rewrites have gone and what tweaks we would need to make in the future. So in the coming weeks, we hope to bring those chapters to you, but now would be the time to kind of general questions, general concerns as we start to get into this from the Plan Commission.
Okay, thoughts, questions for Aaron? Matt?
Yeah, don't go away.
No, I
First of all, congratulations. I'm sure this felt Herculean at times and maybe still, but we're excited to support the staff and everyone, yourself included, and all the staff on this. I have a few questions. One is, I imagine it's not part of the rewrite, but it's going to be caused by the rewrite as a significant zoning map update. Can you talk to us about what that kind of, because right now, I mean, we just saw it, there's all of these, and shrinking the number of zones is going to change what's on the map.
Right.
Is that part of this? What's the process for that? Can you help us understand what the zone map, or are we going to do a new general plan kind of review or something that gets us to get those things aligned once the Title 14's done?
Great question. Yeah. We've been talking with legal a lot about that. That will be a phase 2, so it won't come at the same time as the text amendment. The text amendment would essentially replace Title 14 with new Title 14. Once that's done, we would come back with a kind of a phased approach to rezoning, aligning the properties that the zone is no longer in the books, aligning those with the closest available zone left in the code. So based on density, height, those different standards, use, of course, that will take a while. For example, the RC residential conservation zone, it's kind of spread out through the city. It's got single family properties, multifamily apartments, rentals, commercial office, everything you can think of. So that will kind of be a piecemeal. There's others that are kind of bigger swaths, like the PIC zone in the southeast. That will be just one quick change to M1 zone. So some of them will be a little simpler. We'll probably hit those first and try to get to the more complicated ones as the research is done. That research has started. We've got a pretty large table defining all the different things that are on each property in each zone and kind of comparing that to what the existing zone would allow us to go to. Rest assured, our legal department has said having zones on the map that are no longer in the books doesn't pose a legal problem. So there's a way to deal with that. So that gives us time to take these on as staff has availability and as the council approves them.
And how does, say we have a resident, a citizen who has a property who doesn't like the zone that they're going to end up in, or you're looking at the map saying they're closest to this zone.
Mm-hmm.
Is there going to be a process for dealing with that? Is it up to the resident in some way?
We've talked about that. There will be a lot of notification to those property owners, right? And if the proposed zone from the city isn't something they want, we would hold that one back and let them bring their own zone change forward, is the way we were thinking about handling that. Right now, that's the plan. So they would know ahead of time that a zone change from the city is going to impact their property. If they've voiced concern or opposition to that, we'll say, okay, we'll hold off on that. If you want to bring your own rezone request to the city council, you can do so this way, and we can walk them through that.
Interesting. There's still a lot of work ahead.
There's a lot of work ahead.
But good job. This is important. Another question back to our previous kind of conversation about manufactured homes, but there's a lot of technology, a lot of, like, I mean, you said it a minute ago about things from the 70s, like didn't even contemplate. We spent a lot of time in Planning Commission reviewing one-offs. Is that really the best kind of answer in the future, or are there ways to incorporate some flexibility when a technology changes or prefabrication changes, whatever it could be? Or is that really the best avenue going forward, to have kind of like what we did in item 1 tonight, a one-off that says, hey, let's apply this? Is that really the avenue?
I think you'll see when we bring chapter 1408 to you. That's the new permitted use table. I think you'll see the general land use categories that we're defining for permitted uses throughout the zones. Will give staff a lot more flexibility and discretion to incorporate technologies that aren't thought of today into those kind of general categories. And I think that will be more helpful than the way we've been doing it.
I just had a thought when you said if people didn't like the zone that you're going to put them in, they could come with their own proposal for a different zone. That's not going to open the door to any of the R1s saying, okay, we'd like to be commercial.
They could ask for it, right? I think that would be a uphill battle for them, but if they want to take that on, just like today, if someone wants to do that on a residential
still
project,
can,
they still
right?
can.
Okay.
It's just going to be met with a lot of opposition.
Okay, thanks.
John?
Yeah, so I also think this is a great effort. It's a lot of work I think is needed. I'm really happy to see see this going forward. My question was about, I agree with the zoning questions, I have many there, but specifically in the interim between now and when these come in, Is there any consideration that's being made? I know you're suggesting that, hey, we don't consider this because it's going away. Any broad way we should be thinking about that now?
No, not for the time being. I think that once we get through these chapters and we understand kind of what's left in the code, we'll have a better discussion on that. But for right now, I don't think that's something that we could or should address.
Okay. When will you be taking public comment on these changes?
Once we get through all the study sessions. So we want to get through all 50 chapters as study sessions first. So you're not seeing it for the first time in a public hearing. Once we do that, we'll bring in sections of chapters at a time. And then the public is welcome to
Rough timeline for that is
this summer, hopefully.
summer. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Any other thoughts, questions? Yeah, I'm excited to see what you guys have. This has been quite an undertaking, but I think very much needed and will really help the city grow and develop in better ways in the future. So thank you.
Thank you. We're nervous and excited. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. There'll be some tweaking and fixing,
Yeah.
right? That's just how it always is, but we'll get there.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So that ends this section. There's no vote or anything for us to do. So do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.